Tailgate brought to you by Verizon. 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. I'm Michelle Margaux. That is Ralph Vacchiano. John Jastremski is going to be joining us in a little bit. And Ralph, you were at MetLife Stadium on Sunday. What was the tailgate scene like in the parking lot?
Come on, Michelle, you know nobody invited me to their tailgates. I don't get any good invitations to parties and fun stuff.
That hurts my heart.
In all honesty, it looked normal, which was a really nice change. The fans were into it. They were, look, the Jets hadn't lost at home yet, so they were really excited, but it was the usual flags flying, music blaring everywhere. I think until you see it again, you don't realize how much you missed that a year ago when it was just empty parking lots, and that was the true sound of sadness. This was, for most people, for the ones who were invited, it was a really happy occasion, a lot of fun, and unfortunately for them, they then had to go to the game.
Let's call an audible and welcome in the host of New York on Ringer and Spotify, the one and only John Jastremski. What's up, JJ?
Hi, Michelle. Hi, Ralph. I'm so happy to be on the tailgate. I'm making my debut. I want to come out guns a-blazing, though. I want to come out like Ben Roethlisberger in his rookie year, not like future Hall of Famer Eli Manning in that 2004 season.
JJ, let's get right into it. Last year, the second half of the Giants season was so encouraging. So how have they taken such a big step back?
I think it's pretty simple, guys. The Giant defense is just not where it needs to be. You think about last year and how the Giants overcame what was a terrible start, got back into the season, had meaningful games in the month of December. Their defense was playing at an extremely high level. You can't let a backup quarterback go right down the field on you. You can't let Teddy Bridgewater throw for 300-plus yards. If the Giants are going to turn their season around, if the Giants are going to be a winning football team, they have to be better on the defensive side of the ball. They've got to be better.
Ralph, is Joe Judge on the hot seat? And if he is, does he deserve to be there?
It depends on your definition of a hot seat. It is really warm from the fans, from the media, the progress we're making, and, we're taking little steps forward and we're just getting better. All that stuff, it's not flying anymore because people are just tired of all the losing. I don't think his job is necessarily in jeopardy. I think the Maras certainly don't want to fire a coach after 2 years for the third consecutive time and just make the organization look like a bunch of clowns. I think they want to believe in his philosophy anyway. That being said, the general manager's on the hot seat. If you change general managers, you never know what could happen with the coach. So it's at least very, very warm. I'm not quite sure if we'd call it hot just yet.
Let's go back a little bit, JJ. Eli Manning is getting his number 10 retired. What is your greatest Eli memory?
Wow, I know a lot of people are going to reference the 2 Super Bowl wins over the New England Patriots, and I get it. You beat an undefeated team. But when I think about Eli's 2 signature performances, they're in NFC title games. I think about that frigid, freezing cold Lambeau Field, Eli Manning dropping dimes to Plaxico Burress, outperforming Brett Favre, and the Giants going and finding a way to win that game at Lambeau. And then the other game I think about is another NFC title game. Eli Manning took a beating, an absolute beating against a really good San Francisco 49ers defense. He kept getting hit, he kept getting up, he delivered some brilliant throws in the process. And I know the Super Bowls are what we remember, but Ralph, those NFC title games, those were iconic performances by this future Hall of Fame quarterback.
I'm trying to think of something behind the scenes that jumped out at me because I did cover his whole career, and so much of it is exactly what you see, just Eli in front of the camera looking the same all the time. I always remember one of the first sit-down interviews I did with him. I got a chance to talk to him and his brother together while they were doing a commercial shoot. They were in somebody's basement sitting on a couch, and I started talking to them, and Peyton took over the conversation, just was animated and upfront. Meanwhile, Eli, like the classic little brother, just back in his chair, slumped down, barely said a word. And I kept looking at him, trying to get him to answer questions, and Peyton would do the answers for him. And I kept thinking, this guy's got no chance in New York. I guess I was wrong about that.
Ralph, you're never wrong.
Well, we haven't gotten to the pick segment yet, so we'll save me being wrong for that.
This is true. Ralph, do you feel like the 2 Super Bowls that the Giants have won are so far in the past that they're almost causing frustration in the present, people kind of hanging on to those Super Bowls?
I think a little bit. I think, for the fans, certainly, the honeymoon that they got for winning the Super Bowls is absolutely worn off, and the frustration is built in. I think the organization tries to hang on to that greatness a little too much, and what they never were able to do was figure out the transition. They've been kind of in this cycle of trying to figure it out and just not being willing to completely cut everything off and start all over at any point. And I think that, some of that is, that transition is something that very few teams master. They definitely couldn't, and they sort of tripped over their own past along the way.
Well, and think about it. You see teams like the Green Bay Packers do it seamlessly. They go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and it seems like they don't miss a beat. Well, the Giants weren't winning the last couple of years with Eli Manning, and they're not winning right now. So it kind of has you, longing for the past. You think about those great defensive lines. You think about that great offensive line that was so underrated. You think about Eli and the sort of consistency you got, and he'd be a roller coaster ride at times, but you knew in a 2-minute drill, you knew in a big game situation, you were getting a quarterback who was going to rise to the occasion. Michelle, I don't think there's any doubt Giant fans are longing for the past, but at the end of the day, sooner or later, you got to move forward. You got to usher in that next chapter of winning football.
Let's dive into the comments section. And Ralph, we were just discussing Eli Manning. Who do fans think is the greatest New York quarterback of all time?
Well, there's no question. I did a Twitter poll on this, and Eli Manning was the overwhelming winner of that. There's some recency bias, obviously, and of course, with his number being retired, everybody's got him on their mind. It helps his case that there's really no candidate with the Jets. I mean, there was Joe Namath, who was mostly known for the most important Super Bowl win of all time, but his numbers don't compare to Eli Manning's. And really, there's nobody else with the Jets, maybe Ken O'Brien, who doesn't really rank up there. So it was kind of Eli Manning versus everyone else. My only surprise with the poll is always that Phil Simms doesn't get a little bit more love from fans. And I always feel a little bad for him, because I think had he not gotten hurt in the second Super Bowl year of his era and he had won that second Super Bowl, I think there'd be an interesting debate. His numbers don't quite match up to Eli's, and Eli would probably win out for a lot of fans, but I think Phil Simms would get more support than he did if he had that second ring.
So Sam Darnold didn't make the poll.
Sam Darnold didn't make it. Neither did Christian Hackenberg, surprisingly.
So who do you think is the greatest New York quarterback of all time?
I think it's a pretty easy choice, actually. I think Eli Manning, I wondered for a while, if we would dismiss Phil Simms just because of that, getting only that one Super Bowl. But over time, not only did Eli Manning win the 2 Super Bowls, he did both in incredibly dramatic fashion. He had 2 great NFC Championship games, and the numbers he put up over his career just obliterated everyone else that's come through this town. And on top of that, he was, until he was benched unceremoniously, he never came out of a game, played through injuries. And everything about him makes him not only the greatest quarterback ever in New York, but easily one of the top 5 football players ever in New York.
Well, you're the greatest quarterback of the tailgate, Ralph.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate that. It's very nice of you.
I'm in the pocket. I'm in the pocket.
Time now for In the Pocket, where we try to put money in your pocket. Guys, Giants are 3-point favorites at home against Atlanta. JJ, who do you have in this?
I have a weird feeling the Giants are going to get their first win of the year. And I know they've been miserable in their first 2 games. The defense has not lived up to expectations. The Atlanta Falcons are a team that's turning the football over left and right. This should be a get-right opportunity for the Giant offense. I think Saquon Barkley breaks through in a big way. And I like the fact, guys, that this line has already gone from 2.5 to 3 with a lot of public money coming in on the Atlanta Falcons. Giants get their first win of the year.
Ralph, switching to the Jets, they're 11.5-point underdogs in Denver. Do you think they cover?
I do think they cover, and only because the spread is so big, and I'm not that sold on the Denver Broncos. Honestly, there's not a lot to like about the Jets right now. Their best players on defense, all the guys they brought in, are injured, which that was supposed to be the strength of the unit that carried their rookie quarterback. They should be good against the Broncos. I know the Giants weren't, but they should be able to stop Teddy Bridgewater, and the young corners have been pretty good. They should be a decent match for those receivers. The Jets offense, they've got weapons. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to have another 4-interception type of game, but he's not quite there yet where he's going to carry them. So I think the Jets will lose. I just think they'll be more competitive this time around.
All right, time now for our locks of the week. And really hope you didn't listen to us last week because the Tailgate team went 0-3. I am going to just skim right over that. No time for comments because I don't want to bask in the misery of us not being able to pick. This week, I'm going to go with the Titans, who are 5-point favorites to host the Colts.
Michelle's Lock of the Week.
Yeah, I should probably sit this one out because I was terrible on locks last year. I'm 0-2 in pretty spectacular fashion this year. I'm going to change my strategy. I usually look for a favorite when it comes to the lock of the week, but I want some points this time. And I just watched the Washington team beat the Giants, so I'm going to go with Washington getting 9.5 points from the Buffalo Bills. And I know what the Bills did to Miami last week. I don't think the Bills are the type of team built to constantly blow teams out, especially a team like Washington that has a strong defense that eventually will put it together and good enough weapons on offense to keep moving the ball. They'll lose, but I think Washington, much like the Jets, will keep it close enough. You give me those 9.5 points, I think I got a winner there.
Ralph's Lock of the Week.
Well, guys, I hope that the Tailgate is not going to mush what's been a winning start on Place Your Bets over at SNY and in the Vegas Super Contest.
We are a jinx.
Well, I'm going to try and turn that luck around, and I'm actually going to pick my beloved Miami Dolphins to cover against the Vegas Raiders. The NFL is a week-to-week league. The Miami Dolphins got embarrassed. They got humiliated last week against Buffalo, and Vegas is riding high. They beat the Ravens, they beat the Steelers, and yet they're only a 3.5-point favorite at home. I don't care who's playing quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I think their defense gets after it. I think Brian Flores, who to me is one of the hungrier coaches, and I think one of the better coaches in this league, is going to get a terrific effort out of this squad. And again, it's a week-to-week league. That's the NFL in a nutshell. I'm grabbing the 3.5 points. And you know what? I'm feeling frisky. I think Miami wins the game outright.
It's JJ's Lock of the Week.
All right, JJ, thank you so much for your time. Don't go anywhere because after this show, I'm going to have you help me with my fantasy team. That's it for the Tailgate for Ralph Vacchiano and John Jastremski. I'm Michelle Margaux, and we'll see you next week.